1. Hey, what's going on, peeps? What's going on? Welcome to Gap Selling Book Club Part 3. Never would have made this happen if I had sat here and waited for Miss Becc to get going, because she was just yapping away. So anyways, excited to have you all here. This is Part 3 of the Gap Selling Book Club. I'm going to start because I'm in a bitter mood. And I don't give a fuck if the people who are supposed to show up hear this. So I create this opportunity for you guys. And Becc doesn't need to be here. Beck's got plenty to do. Trust me. I talked to Becc right before he came on. She has been busting her ass. She was in the freaking, what do you call it? She was in the studio for 16 hours yesterday. She's exhausted, but yet she's here because we wanted to talk with you guys about how to improve your prospecting. We wanted to leverage the gap selling techniques to improve prospecting, and it'd be great. And so we offer that opportunity to 4 more people. Now, Mr. Chris Price, he's a smart guy. He showed up on time, ready to go and make it happen. The other 3 clowns, not only didn't show up, but didn't even let us know they weren't showing up, didn't respond to telephone calls, and didn't respond to text. So now I'm impatient for that shit. Sorry, the level of accountability here. You don't want to, you can't make it. Shit happens. I get it. You send a note, say, hey, I'm really sorry, Keenan. I'm not going to be able to make it. I apologize, but this is what happened, right? But you just don't not show up. You just don't not, right? And so people wonder why people get bitter. I'll be straight with you. I'm a bitter guy in this regard because I bust my ass to give, and nothing pisses me off more when fucking clowns tread all over that. So when you people get upset with me in the future because I don't put more people on these shows, or I don't extend our giveaways, or I don't do extra things, you can blame the motherfuckers like that. I'm like, fuck it, I don't have time for this shit anymore. Like, I'm done. All right? So message to start this whole thing off: accountability to your family, your friends, the people you make commitments to. Because you're only as good as your word. Maybe 2021, but some things from back in the day matter, and being good as your word matters. All right? Thank you very much. There you have it. So welcome, guys.
I love it.
Welcome.
Privileged to be here. Privileged to be here.
Yeah. So everybody knows Becc, but Becc, I know you probably hate this, but just say hi to everybody because everybody knows you.
Hi, everyone. Just to be clear, I wanted to start this with an intro about talking about messaging strategy. If you're on like The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, what you would say at the beginning to get past through the next round. But Keenan nipped that right in the bud and went straight to the intro with his reign on accountability. So I'm feeling a little frazzled. That's how I always start. So I don't know how to begin.
Don't be frazzled. Come on, I don't believe you're frazzled. You're the queen of freaking making shit happen. You can't get frazzled. You'll ruin it for me.
All right, I'm not frazzled.
Whew, that made me feel
I'm ready. But I doubled down on that accountability piece. Accountability for your mistakes, accountability for your success. It's the key to everything.
Yeah, I like you said something before when people call you up and say, yeah, and you said, I don't want to hear the rest of something like that. Was great. How'd that go?
When they start in the sentence, I'm like, whatever's on the end of that sentence, let's just time out. I don't care.
Yeah, the excuse basically, right?
Out. Take accountability of whatever it was in the situation and then move forward. The people who didn't show up are like, under their sheets.
Yeah, they should be. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We have their cell numbers, people. We call them and they couldn't even pick up and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't make it. I'm here, or whatever. I'm on my way. Just burp, cricket. Chirp. So anyways.
I should call them from my phone number.
There you go. Let's call them live and be like, where are you? All right, Christopher Price, my man. Welcome, baby.
Hello, thank you. Honored to be here.
Yeah, tell us about yourself.
So I've been in sales about 15 years. Everything from telecom to transactional first aid sales. And now I'm at a technology company, so selling anything from adaptive networking to managed services to edge security. And I realized that my sales game isn't where it could be. We can always improve, right? So I've been following you for a while. Yeah, accountability, just show up, and no one's going to spoon feed you stuff in life. So as we talked earlier before the show, my company's big on the gap selling process, and so I was like, let me just see if I can get in, and I got an email, and I showed up and looking to learn and provide some value too where I can.
Love it.
So thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
You got it, baby. You got it. And that's the other thing that made me mad about all this, right? There were other people we had to turn away. We turned away a lot of people. Said, sorry, we're full. Turned a lot of people away. And those people could be here participating and adding value. Instead, they're not. So it's a lot of downstream effect to that bullshit. But all right, anyways, we're going to talk about prospecting today. And since I wrote the book, I have a lot of interesting alternative views or additional views or complementary views to how I originally wrote the book in the prospecting piece. Some of the core values still stay the same, but let's just jump right in. Let's start with the very first one, getting to the first yes. Becc, you're the prospecting queen, king, master, all of the above, right? So what were your thoughts when you read this piece?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting, the entire prospecting section, and I want to get into what has changed for you as you've written this book. I'm going to challenge you to lead off with that pretty soon here. But I think what's interesting to me is there's two pieces to prospecting from my perspective of kind of the pattern interrupt, personalization, saying something crazy, getting someone's attention, which I do think is important. I think it's understated, and personalization is a piece of that. I think I'm known for like personalization at scale girl, and I'm like, well, time out. That's just a tool. That's like a piece of it, right? Like, okay, instead of running against 1,000 runners, to run the fastest mile, I want to run against 3. So I want a pattern interrupted step out of this, of what normal salespeople are doing to run against 3 runners. But I think to your point, the second line, and something that teams of mine that we struggled with at the beginning that we really had to get to, is once you get their attention, that's great. So what are you going to do with it? In the second line, are you going to talk about something that really matters to them? And I think I had to take a few steps back when I started to read this and understand how I buy and when I give my time over to someone. And usually I'm only going to give my time over to someone even if they pattern interrupt and I do read the email and it's super interesting and it's personalized to me, do they talk about something that I have to jump on the phone to solve? And like, I can think of 2 case scenarios where I actually jumped on a call because my time, was so limited. And I think as you go up the decision-making tree, it's like, okay, their time is going to be smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so what something has to contain is a problem that's bigger that they can only solve by jumping on a call with you. So I think getting to the first yes, it's like, yeah, part of it's about interrupting the pattern and stepping out and being different. And then the second half, from my perspective, is talking about something that they have to solve for by jumping on the phone with you.
I like how you put that. I really like how you put that. It's funny, every time I read my book, something different jumps out, or I'm reminded of something that I wasn't thinking of, whatever. But I thought this was the big piece for me. They'll agree to meet for a phone call or reply to an email, not because you're awesomely charming, but because you'll have helped them see that it's in their best interest to do so, right? Let me drop that again because it's so important. Prospects will be more willing to meet with you because they will see it's in their best interest to do so. And you sort of just said that a second ago, right? You only have taken 2 cold calls or emails, whatever, a long time, but because you thought it was worth your time, your time for you. So I think that's something salespeople just seem to just gloss right over, in their ability to say, why should this person meet with me? What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, so 100%. Like, I was going over it, and like, we're always asking for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And as sales pros, we're one of hundreds, per day that, when you're talking to CIOs or CTOs or directors, they probably get 200 plus emails a day. So you're having to just stand out and just like you said, just pattern interrupt. And something I've learned is to try to just detach. Everybody gets like the pit in the stomach when it's time to cold calling because it's focused on you. Like, oh man, I've got to get a meeting, or I've got to get the sale or whatever. But I wrote something down. The offer minus ask equals value, and that kind of stuck with me because I was like, oh man, if I'm asking for a 15-minute, 20-minute meeting, but yet there's no value, then you've got nothing. So that's something that stuck out to me. It's got to be valuable to them, and it's just take the focus off of us as sales professionals and put it on the customer.
And here's a good example. All right, let's have some fun with this. So Vinay Garg, are you still there, buddy? So Vinay just dropped in the comments, I need advice on how to sell these books. And he put a link. So Vinay, come on, buddy, talk to me. Let me take a look at these books here. Let's see what we want to do with this. Come on, man. Let me see. Let's see if I can get that. The link's not working. How come I can't get that link to work?
Uh-oh.
Right. So let's see. Best-selling books 2021. Come on, Vinay. Hello. So what do you want, Vinay? You pop in here, and what do you mean you need help selling these books? Right? Come on now. How I want you to walk me through, right, Vinay, how that text provides value to anybody on this call right now, Vinay. Okay? Because that's what we're talking about. Value. Where is the value to the people here? And how can you spin that into helping? Because right now, all I see is you interrupting this with a link to get people to do something for you, right? So that's not selling, Vinay. So I'm here. I want you to help me out. Okay, bud? Oh, I don't want to do that. So show me. Tell me. Come on, Vinay. Next comment. I said hello. I'm giving you your time of day. I'm interrupting this. You got my attention. What are we going to do with it?
Oh, my gosh.
All right?
No one's going to raise their hand in that chat again.
Oh, man. People have conversations in the chat all the time, and we answer their questions. We go through it. But this is the type of shit I'm giving them a chance to prove me wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. But if it's something that's self-serving, I'm going to lose my shit. Right? Because I don't know how many times we have to have this conversation or how many times people have to read, right? It's about giving. Stop spamming people. Stop running around pushing your agenda into other people's lives, right? What people don't understand is that selling is about helping. Mm-hmm. That's your job, to help. That is your job, to help. And you can't help somebody if you don't know where and how and why they need the help, right? It's not spam. Okay, Vinay, great. Tell us what it is. Tell us where we can help you. What makes you feel that we're going to jump in right now and click on this link and teach you how to sell books when we're talking about prospecting? What's your specific question, Vinay? Come on, man. If it's not great, it's not spam. What is it? You tell me what it is. I'm giving you a chance. So I'll wait till your next comment. And better yet, if you want to come in here, that's it. I want you to text. I'm going to put it in here.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, well, in the meantime, while Keenan goes on his pathway, I will tell you about the time that the person got me on the call.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
To get me on the call and what was inherent to it. So Jay McAllister is the guy's name. I hope that, shout out Jay if you're watching this, but he was the first person to successfully get me on an actual quote unquote demo. And what he did is he pinged me at like Friday at 8 p.m. And he said, did you know if I Google your name, Becc Holland, and flip the script dead on, your website doesn't come up? He said, so I started looking into it, and I think it's because of the metadata on your website. And so I looked into it with my solutions engineers, and I think there are two things that you can do that will clear up your metadata that will point your users to your website. And I have 15 minutes to talk to you. And I said, what's your number on a Friday at 8 p.m.? And he gave it to me, and I called him directly. And I was like, holy cow, that is the first and most effective. He solved a problem for me. He knew that I probably likely, had poured thousands and thousands of dollars into this website and thousands of hours into the content on the website. And the one thing I want is for people to go to the website and watch these videos. And something that was hurting me and it was a problem I didn't even know about. He was like, did you know that when I Google your name dead on and flip the script, you still don't come up in Google? And this is an SEO thing. And so to your point, that was the only, and I have been pitched being the quote unquote personalization queen. I probably get, I kid you not, 100 messages a day of and very personalized stuff. And it's all really great, but I'm like, that is the only standout case that I was like, I have to meet with this guy. And when I got on the phone with him, I was thankful to him. Mm-hmm. He was like, hey, I'm going to give these to you for free. But we also have, a couple of other options of other things that I think that could speed up the traffic to your website if you're interested in taking a look. I'm like, dude, you can have the keys to my car. I'll get a tattoo of your name, on whichever arm you pick, because you just alleviated a huge problem for me that I had no idea. And I called him Friday at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. on a Friday, he got my attention by solving a problem. That shifted my perspective of and it's kind of bleeding into chapter 15 and 16 of like thinking like a buyer. I'm like, that was the first time that someone really got my attention, you know, as a decision maker. And so I was thinking through that as I'm reading this of like, okay, Keenan, I'm like, shit, he's right.
Right. I mean, right here, like, so part number 3.
My ex-boyfriends across America are like,
I'm mad because you never told them they were right, but you told me I was right. Yeah. I'm no dummy. Right. So right here, it's like part 3 or number 3 or whatever we call it in the book on page 159. Be a problem finder, right? You know your customers are facing problems that you can fix. As you start engaging, your goal will be to compel these buyers to grant you enough time to identify these problems and not only get them to admit that the problem does exist, but that it's having a negative impact. To get that time, you're going to have to understand your buyer's mindset, thus the pick. So that guy knew what type of problems he solved. He solved the problem. This is what people don't understand when I do the whole pick thing and going back to earlier chapters, right? He understood that he solved the problem of SEO, of visibility, or search visibility on people's websites. He was probably smart enough to know that, especially for newer websites that may not be having that right away. So by going out and finding a way to highlight to you that that problem exists for you and challenge you or make you realize that you have a problem you don't have, and is it worth fixing, is what he got you. So yes, personalization, but personalization on the business level, not personalization on the personal level, right? And then he got to really get in your head. So that's how it works. It's exactly how it works.
So to me, he did both, though. To be fair, he was personalized on a personal level. He was like, I'm calling flip the script from the beginning. And I think people beat up personalization. They're like, oh, well, if I had to choose between personalization and relevance, I'd choose relevance all day long. And I'm like, yeah, well, so would I. But it's 2021, thank God. And we don't have to choose. Like, we can do both effectively. And so he's like, I've watched these 3 sessions. I've gotten a lot out of, I bought outreach because one of the sessions. Oh, that's by the way, 3 of your, you know, metadata, whatever, is screwed up. Will you jump on a call? And I'm like, that's, to me, I'm like, that is the keys to the kingdom of how can I do both effectively at once? And I don't think, to your point, I don't think that it's that difficult of like finding the overt signs of like the problem that you solve and going through the process of like, a great example being, you know, I saw for demo request lines of 15 to 25% of people who request a demo actually receive a demo from companies. Okay, so let's argue that 35% are unqualified. You have 40% of your pipeline hemorrhaging out because of your process on the demo request line. So I'm like, you know, a way to solve for it of like, I'm in a deal right now where I went to their website and I requested a demo, and then I went to a competitor's website and requested a demo. And from their competitor, I've had 4 calls. I've had 2 social messages. I've had 5 emails. And from them, I still haven't gotten a ping. So it's like, find the problem and make it personal.
Right there you go. That's finding the problem. That's highlighting the problem. That's a whole other level. Yeah, that's brilliant. So I actually can tell a story about that in a second. But Chris, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's like, you know, in the line of work we are, tech sales, it's a little bit, you know, it can be challenging. But, you know, with COVID and stuff, for example, there's certain demographics who they've had to, you know, just flip the script and like work from home. And that's been a huge reality. Everyone's not going to the offices. And so, you know, for network and IT folks, it's been extremely challenging on how to, okay, crap, how are we going to do this, number one, when it's really never been done before on a large scale, right? And number 2, how can we sustain it? You know, is it sustainable? And so, you know, you can kind of get your foot in the door and talking about, hey, you know, we've seen these challenges with, you know, this particular company and industry, but, you know, like you mentioned, Becc, just kind of uncovering a problem they didn't even know we had. Like, for example, hey, you know, with working from home, you know, how do you know that your people aren't going rogue and, you know, watching cat YouTube videos and, you know, putting your company and your internet connection at risk due to security? I mean, cybersecurity, I read a stat the other day, it's gone up 353% since 2019. And it's just, it's crazy. So, you know, yeah, you might be getting in the door to try to solve like, you know, like a network problem or something like that. But when you start digging deep and really focusing on the customer, you can point out problems and pain that they don't even have and, you know, solve for that. And by doing so, in my opinion, you become a more trusted advisor. and you realize, hey, it's not just let's get in and it's all about me. It focuses back on the customer, which throughout the whole book I've noticed it's about you. No one cares about you or your product. That kind of hit me in the face a little bit when I first read that. No one gives a crap about you. It's like, oh, okay, well, but reading and as you put it and as you explain it, Keenan, it really does make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what's something too. What I like what Becc was saying, and I'll give you some food for thought, and I want more opinion on you on this, Chris. But I wish I'd put more in the book in this. Like this is, if I ever do what do they call it, a revision or something? If I ever do a revision, I will put this in it. Creativity is not valued enough in prospecting. Like literally the level of creativity that prospecting requires goes a long way. And look, and you know this better than I do, Becc. Everybody's looking for the formula. Let me get the equation, and I'll just do the equation. I'll set and forget, right? I'll buy the scripts, and I'll do this, and I'll set and forget. But truth of the matter is the best prospectors are the ones who actually add a level of creativity to it. So like you, when you said, wait, I got I got a client that I'm trying to win. Let me go do this. Let me go click here. Let me go click here. Let me see what happens, and let me deliver the information to them. That's creative, right? A little while back, one of the biggest clients at the time that I had landed was right when I don't even think the book was done. The training was done. Gap selling was done, but the training wasn't. I'm sorry, the book wasn't. And it was a B2C environment, but it was a big B2C purchase. And I won't really go into the type of company. And so I had one conversation when they went dark, right? And so I was like, and basically what little I got out of them, I was like, I'm getting this account. So after they went dark, I said, screw this. So what did I do? I clicked on their little button.
Their house with a brick.
Yeah. Went to their house with a brick, right? But no, I clicked on their little button and I went to I set up a meeting in my, because it's a nationwide company. And I set up a meeting in my area. And I went down and I sat with the salesperson. I let her do her whole thing. And then I got off the call and I sent an email to the CEO. Just had a consult. Just had a consult. What I learned, what I said in the subject line. And then I broke down the whole entire sales call. He called me back within 15 minutes.
Really?
Sale was closed and done within, I think, 20 to 30 days after that. Right? So it's creativity. All of this matters, but there's a whole level of creativity that people just are not leveraging. People aren't thinking. They're just not thinking. They're just trying to do.
Yeah, well, I think to your point, most people want to tell you about their credibility as opposed to just prove it to you.
Yes.
Right? So they're like, oh, well, we're the number one, da-da-da-da, and we've worked with all these people, and here are all our case studies. And I'm like, okay, people send me messages saying like, hey, we scale personalized messages. Can we talk to you? And I'm like, hugs for the email, but this isn't personalized. So like, how can I believe you that you are some kind of level of expert on speeding me up when this has no personalization at all? But I'm like, I love when you're going into your book about thinking like a buyer. And I'm like, I wish you had doubled down there like for 15 pages of most of the process that I'm putting together as I'm thinking how I think as a buyer of like for the objections, like I'll see these objection handles in the industry of like, hey, well, I'm not interested, or send me an email. What should I include in that email? Or when they say, when they say like, hey, I'm running into a meeting, and you're supposed to say, well, what's a better time to call? I'm like, time out. Okay, it's 11:17 a.m. What time does their meeting start? 11:19? It's a false objection, man. Yep. When they say send me an email, they mean go away, and I want to get off the phone. And it's so interesting to me. It's like, Chris, I'm going to pick on you for a second. When you walk into a retail store and I say, hi, can I help you with anything? What do you naturally say back?
No, I'm good. Just looking.
See, like we're not even in the case scenario. And why do you say that? Why do you say that to me?
It's just nobody likes to say no. It's just a brush off. It's like, all right, if I really need help, I'll come and seek you out.
Totally. And so it's like, that's how you're thinking as a buyer, and we're crafting all these objection handles to an objection that's not real.
Not even real. It's not even real.
Red herring, yeah.
I'm saying what should I include in that email? And it's like, okay, someone says like, hey, will you go out with me on Friday? And I'm like, oh, I'm washing my hair at 7, and you're sending me shampoo that will make my hair cleaner for longer. And I'm like, the reason that I'm giving you that objection is I'm trying not to be a punk, but I don't want to go out with you. Like, you're sending me the shampoo for the wrong objection. And so it's like, if
who washes the hair at 7 o'clock on a Friday night anyways?
It's like, okay, like we're rooting ourselves in these wrong objections. And I don't know why we're doing it. It's like we're impignorating what we actually think in this situation for some anachronistic tale that we don't even believe. So it's like, put yourself in the buyer's shoes. When someone says to you, like, cold calls you out of the blue, and you say, I'm running into a meeting, when you're lying, why are you lying? Like, why are you
no value? You see no value in having time with them.
Bingo. So that's the objection that we need to counter, because that's the real objection. So how can we pattern interrupt and like word warp the situation to like get out of this current state? Because it's like, if you say, send me an email, and I say, what do I include in that email? And I'm like, I don't give a shit because I'm not going to read it. And then you're like, cool, I'll send you over some case studies. And like on we go. And it's like, why aren't we just disheveling that thing, you know, and disrupting this thing and thinking like a buyer, that when I'm walking into a store and I'm a retail salesperson, I need to learn how to either call that out very directly but politely, but like, that's the objection that I'm here to handle. And I know that because I am thinking like a buyer whenever I'm thinking about prospecting, of like, when they say, I want pricing, you know, what are they really communicating in that situation? What are they really thinking? And how do we call this out? So I'm like, I think that that's the crux of gap selling in general, is like, okay, you're after finding a problem because you know that's how you buy. Like I only jump on the call whenever I'm like, you have offered me some out to a situation I didn't even know that I was in.
I like that. I love it that way. I wish I'd said that. You've offered me an out to something that I didn't realize I need to get out, or I do know I need to get out of, and I don't know how to get out of.
Totally.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the letter that you put from a senior exec of the telecom company. You know, like,
that's a real letter, by the way. That's no bullshit. That is actually a real letter. A real letter. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and just thinking like a buyer, you know, it's again just detaching from the salesperson mentality, you know, and I like to do some due diligence. You know, when I'm researching a prospect, I like to find out the industry. I'll follow them on Twitter. You know, any webinars or any seminars that they speak at, I try to follow and just jot down some notes and just use that to show that you're engaged and interested in what they're doing. But, you know, just looking at the strategy plan, you know, like something that's stuck to me was like, you know, I have a dozen vendors. I spend, you know, $3 million more a year. Why? Do you know who they are? And it caused me to kind of level up my game. I think I do a pretty good job at, you know, researching and not getting stuck in the, you know, analysis paralysis, you know, thing that we tend to get stuck in. But, you know, just shifting your mindset and thinking from that senior exec, you know, why would I spend time with you? You know, how can you provide value versus everybody else that's just chirping at me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, you know, one of the things I want people to understand is I hear this, I do research a lot. And I don't know if this is the art of the game or I just really suck at explaining this piece. But I almost do zero, me personally, I'm not telling other people they don't have to. I almost do zero research before a call because 9 out of 10 times I understand enough to be able to translate that into what problems I think they solve or what I think that company does. So now if it's completely foreign to me, like I had a client once who did maintenance reliability strategies. I'm like, what the fuck is maintenance reliability strategies? So I couldn't naturally figure out. I know what I know what problems they solve because I didn't understand it. So I had to go back. I had to go out and research and learn that. But generally speaking, in most situations, I understand the problems they solve. So where am I going with this, people? A lot of salespeople go out and they find out how many people are in the company and they find out where their locations are and they find out how long they've been in business, and which none of that provides any value for you to figure out how you can solve their problem. Like it provides zero value other than maybe it shows the customer you did your research. But if you're going to go do research before a call or research a company before a call, you need to be doing research that helps you understand where to go to find the problem or to quantify the types of problems they could be having that you solve, like that cat did for Becc. He went out and saw that she's got a new website and that her website isn't getting the sales traffic she needs. That's research that matters. Had he known that she was a solopreneur and had he known her business was only this long and she had 150 videos and that was it, that's great. Good for you. Now what? Like you're not offering any value in your research. So most people don't do that. They do research that provides no value to them in understanding the customer's problem. So I think that's a great point, Chris. I think it's a great point.
I do enjoy kind of watching on your sessions. You know, people jump on and they're like, "Hey, Keenan, I've noticed that you've worn this shirt in the last 10 videos." And I'm like, he's going to shred you. And then
yeah. It's like, for real? Like,
I can't wait for it.
Oh my God. I don't want to shred people.
Sometimes I'm rooting for you. Like shred them, Keenan.
Well, you know, okay.
This is his head. Like,
this is the moment. Oh my God, Vinay starts. Oh my goodness, Vinay, you got to get on. Doris, get Vinay on the call. Get Vinay on the call.
Okay, run for your life.
So here's what Vinay just said. He goes, the moment people find value in your idea, they steal it. Vinay, what crack are you smoking, man? Like, for real. Listen, I used to think this way. Maybe you're young, so it'll be nice. But I remember thinking this when I was younger. And I remember plain as day, it took about 3 different guys to finally yell it at me, and it finally stuck. And now I don't give a shit. Listen, it's never your idea. It's your ability to execute on it. And this is great. So I hope your team's listening, Chris, and we were going to talk about it later. I just had people reach out to me all the time. Oh, we're teaching the team in gap selling, and I wrote a book, and we're training our team in gap selling. I already know you're going to fail. I already know you're going to fail. You're going to say you're a gap selling organization, and you'll get a few of the pieces, and you'll run around, and everybody's going to feel good about it. But let me walk you through this. Gap selling is hard as fuck to execute. It is hard as fuck to execute. Your team is going to screw up the difference between a technical problem and a root cause and a business problem. Your team is going to start doing all types of self-diagnosing questions. Like, your team is not going to know the difference between what physical and literal is, and how to build the current state and how to contrast against the future state. That you're going to screw the whole thing up, right? Because it's not easy to execute. So, Vinay, do you think I'm afraid to give people free content? No, because those who are truly committed to executing will go to the people who know how to execute and get it, and let them steal my ideas, because they won't execute it on as well as I do. So this idea of giving free information away on a call or telling a customer it is wrong. Here, I'll slow down a little. Vinay, you're firing me up. Becc, do you think that guy was afraid when he told you that you weren't on the home page? You're going to, thanks for telling me. I'm going to go figure it out myself now.
No, it's just the opposite. It drives demand and your credibility and your expertise if you're giving away free information.
Yes, because you're like, if I had known this, then I'd probably know how to fix it, and I would have fixed it. And even if I do want to go figure it out, I'm sure I can't do it as well as this guy. My time is valuable. I'm not going to waste time trying to learn something and figure something out that I didn't already know. Fuck it. This guy can do it for me.
I have gotten on the line when I've worked for 2 competitors. And with the second one that was competing with the first one, I used to get on the line with their customers and teach them in 10 minutes how to use our competitor better. I ripped 5 competitive deals that way of being like, yo, let me teach you how to use this competitive platform better. And they were mind blown, because they're like, I made their current reality better, even though it was to my disadvantage. That's the competitor, right? And so they're thinking, they're not thinking, oh, she's like the arbiter of information. They're thinking, why is she working for their competitor then? And what on earth can their competitor, like, what on earth can my company do if I can teach them, and I'm willing to teach them how to use their current company better? And so I think it's like this reverse mentality that people have to get out of the habit of, this scarcity mentality of like, if I give away my jewels, and like, you know, what's left? You know, and I'm like, what's left is the execution of like, Babe Ruth wasn't good because he was handed a good bat. Like, the minute you have the bat, like, everyone's swinging the same. So it comes down to how he's swinging the bat, when he's swinging the bat, etc. It's like, it comes down to the execution with anything.
Yep. You nailed it. So Chris, just so you know, your team is serious. They need to call us on the side, because they are not, is not going to go well. Just saying, seen it 1,000 times. All right, so let's go. Let me see where we are. Oh, okay. What do you guys think about? You guys call it pat or interrupt. I call it the oh shit circuit. What did you guys think about this old idea of creating intrigue, and the idea of creating intrigue and getting people to open things up? Because I think personally, pat and interrupt is really the surprise element of intrigue. Mm-hmm.
Chris, I've been talking too much.
I mean, to me, it's kind of like just how you stand out, from the crowd, just, back in my early days, and it's still something I'm trying to get used to is just, not blending in with the other 100 emails, and just like, oh, wow, for example, like stats, like, 90% of people aren't going to execute this book when they read it because of, whatever. And you kind of look at that, you're like, oh, okay, that kind of catches it versus, hey,
it catches me because I'm like, how dare you tell me I'm like those other 90%? I'll prove you wrong, and I want to go
right,
yeah. Read why. Like that. Like, wow, what are you talking about? Just keep going.
Yeah, like and another sales thing that I'm into. You mentioned Scott Becc earlier, but I heard a cold call where she was calling the guy from Starbucks, just out of the blue, and it's like, well, okay, well, what are you ordering? And it gets your attention. And stuff like, oh, hey, how are you doing today? Because nobody cares. If you're calling 100 people a day, you don't care how their day is going, and they know that. But like the like just for expenses, like in your book it says, is your expense reporting costing you $10K a year? Just something like just trigger like, oh crap, is it? Is it costing me more? Is it costing me less? But just something like to really kind of like hook them, and then get them to read your email for 15, 20 seconds, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Look,
just get creative.
It's real. Yeah. ACC, the anterior singular cortex, is a real thing. I didn't just make this up. It's a real thing. And so our minds are designed to basically ignore what has been seen, to ignore the expected, right? And so in order to break that, you have to literally do something that is against what they expect. My favorite one, well, not my favorite, but my favorite one that's easiest to convey is the pink paper for a resume. Right now, I know some people out there like, what's a resume? I mean, what's a resume and all that shit, which I love. But, before there was LinkedIn, and Chris, you look old enough to remember this, right? I was in the middle of this, right? So sorry, Chris, I'm just stating it as what I'm stating, right? So, remember the day before there was LinkedIn, right? Before there was LinkedIn, we literally had to either get a friend to do a personal introduction, or what was even worse, which I refused to do, but was you literally physically mailed a motherfucking resume to a P.O. box where some poor schlep would get hundreds, if not thousands of these resumes and have to sit on their desk and open them up, read the cover letter, and then read the resume and put in a pile of yes, maybe, or no. Like literally, and this wasn't in 1980. This was all the way up to the early 2000s, because LinkedIn still didn't show up to like 2003, 4, 5, something like that, right? So that's how you did it. And so one person, this was in the 80s, got smart, and they did it on pink paper, right? So just think what they did. They recognized, this is you guys call it pattern interrupt. I call it the surprise, right? There's 3 elements to the whole intrigue piece. There is knowledge gap, there is mystery, and there's surprise. Well, I call pattern interrupt same thing as surprise. They weren't expecting that. That was unexpected. They were surprised to see pink paper. So of course they're going to read. Of course they're going to read it. The only problem with pattern interrupt and surprise, though, is once it's done several times, it no longer is a surprise. So she told somebody, and that hiring manager told somebody, and then all of a sudden about 10 people did it, and then 50 people did it, and all of a sudden there's 3 pieces of pink paper in my thing. I know what it is. I don't open it up. It's just like everybody else. Totally. But my point is brilliantly creative, and that's where people are missing it. Think.
Yeah.
Like on one of your videos, I think, Keenan, you're like, out of Denver, you're a skier, So if I'm trying to, get 5 minutes with you, I would be like, hey, did you know that 20% of people, break their leg on moguls or just something? I'm not a skier, but, I would throw out something that I know that you're passionate about, because that would incline you to open up my email. Oh, okay, or some kind of
as long as what you're selling, this is the key piece. Don't make this mistake. As long as what you're selling is going to solve the problem of breaking my leg in moguls. If you're trying to sell me on something for my sales organization, you're talking about me skiing in moguls, I'm personally pissed.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, oh, this will be interesting. And then, oh, wait, what? It seems manipulative to me. Like, you fucker.
Yeah, like if I'm selling a ski boot, I'm like, hey, this bends and flexes with your ankles, so that way if you fall, you're not going to break your ankle in 5 places. This will give you more of a relief. Because I used to wakeboard in Florida, and when you fall, luckily, you'll come out of the bindings. But not being a skier, if it was something like that, if I'm selling ski bindings or whatever, then But if I'm trying to sell,
conventional, you really would get my attention if you said, are you aware conventional bindings release 30% less often than people realize? Because you tell me a binding is going to be tough nut, but if all of a sudden this is the knowledge gap piece, he's using knowledge gap right now. If all of us, I'm just assuming that all these bindings work good enough. Right? If all of a sudden he says to me, hey, you know what? They're not as good as you think they are, and he's able to do it in a way that gets me to say, what? 50% don't open it. What does that mean? I go in and read it, and I'm like, no shit. And then I'll be thinking, I remember that one time. I remember my ankle. Like, ooh, now at least I'll listen. May not buy, but you got my attention enough to listen.
Right. Yeah.
Right. See, that was intrigue again. Go back.
I think what you are mentioning is very important of getting the attention and then keeping the attention. So it reminds me of, there's this guy who basically spent months trying to get a date with Drew Barrymore. Like, he did all this stuff, started a social campaign, on, and he got one. But that was the only date, because eventually
he was boring as shit.
Right. Eventually they're paying attention. I don't know what happened on the date, but eventually they're paying attention. And so it's like, you can't 10-80-10 me of like, okay, 10% is personalized, 10% is personalized, 80% isn't. It's like, hey, Becc, I noticed you went to Texas A&M. We over here at Drift help convert website views. And I'm like, it comes off as gimmicky to me of like, okay, if you're going to mention something and there's no actual tie here, but to your point on variability, it's like B.F. Skinner, I want you to look him up. He basically in the 60s, he did you should put this in your second version of your book to back it up. He did this test on 2 groups of lab rats, where basically in the first case scenario, these rats, every single time they hit this lever, they got a treat, and it was the same size. Every single time, same day.
Yes.
And then the second group, whenever they hit the lever, sometimes they got a treat, sometimes they got a big treat, and sometimes they got no treat at all. Notice with the second group that essentially they pushed the lever more often because of the variability principles. So variability within your approach drives attraction and desire of, oh, am I going to get this thing or am I not? And so the piece of like intrigue, creating mystery, and some type of gap of like, okay, you know, all of a sudden I want to read this email because you have created some level of like, oh shit circuit, pattern interrupt, something, you know, that I read this email and I'm like, okay, all of a sudden, like I'm this lab rat and I'm like, you know, hitting the button as opposed to it being static. So it's like when people fall asleep, it's like they can deal with the fan because it's a normal, it's a constant noise as opposed to something that happens every once in a while. So I think that kind of bleeds into, and I'd be interested in your perspective on it in terms of medium and in terms of timing between your different, you know, pieces of outreach of how that can drive someone to say like, oh, okay, I'm at minimum going to read this because they're personalized or they pattern interrupt or they do whatever and they hit the oh shit circuit in my brain, but then they immediately get into something that actually hooks into it and talks about some kind of problem that I need to alleviate.
Well, you know, I can't stop thinking about this poor idiot who got the date with Drew Barry. Like, I can't because to your point, the whole point of getting, if I spent, just for number sense, if I spent 100 hours trying to get this date with her, you could spending about 400 hours preparing for this date. Because I didn't do it for the date. I did it for the ability to date her.
Right.
There's a big difference. I didn't do it to talk to you. I did it to date you. I'm not doing this to talk about a sale. I'm doing this to sell you. So are you like, the opportunity of he literally got the opportunity of a lifetime. And
she was like, hi. She was like,
oh my God. Like,
that's how I view video. Like video is a pattern interrupt. And so it's like, so I tell people of like, hey, as a medium, they're watching. But the damage of that is they're watching. So like, make it count, Sherlock Holmes. Like, here's your opportunity. I'll give you 2 hours. And like, what are you going to do with it? So I'm like, I think he spent the prep on the wrong, you know, arguably of like, it was important for him to get the date, you know, otherwise, so to me, personalization is getting the date of like, you're going to pattern interrupt and they're going to start to read the email. But if you're talking about something that they don't want to solve for, then that's you showing up to the date and being like, hey, let me walk you through, whatever, my love for kitty cats. Yeah. Like, here's all my impressive, dog collection. Let me tell you about all my different razors to trim my mustache. I'm like,
Oh my God. Yeah. Can I show you pictures of my room in my grandmother's basement?
It's not even here yet, and I'm already in jail. Like up here, in jail. And so it's like, make it count in terms of that second line of talk about something that they need solving for, because you just got the opportunity.
And you know what sucks even more? Like this is how my head works. I'm even further beyond this now. He fucked it up so bad that he fucked it up for every other guy too. Because if another guy tries this, they'll be like, well, that didn't work too well for Drew, so I'm not giving this next guy a chance. Had it worked out for Drew, Drew'd be like, oh my God, it was amazing. And so if another guy tries this and then it gets another celebrity or celebrity woman would be like, I'll give it a shot. But no, because he screwed up so bad, it's done. Like it's not surprising anymore, nor is the outcome valuable. So to answer your question though, how do you do it? This is where you go back to the earlier chapters of the book and the pick. Your knowledge and understanding of the problems that your prospects are dealing with is your secret weapon. Not how much you know about your product. It's how much you know about the problems they're having in their business. And you should know those. Like, this is where companies fall down big time. And one of these days, if I had more time and energy, I would figure out how to turn this into a book. But it's just so ethereal, I think is the word I'm looking for. So in the, nebulous. Yes, it's so nebulous that I'm not even sure I would do it. But companies spend so much time teaching them about the products and spend almost zero time teaching them about the actual business problems that they solve. I was on a call with a big client the other day, and they brought in, and after going through the sales team, then product marketing still couldn't do it. They brought on the product team, and at first the product team argued with me because I'm like, this seems like the problem to me, but I'm not an expert. I need your help. And he pushed back, and I asked question. And after 35 minutes, his whole face goes, wow, you're right. That really is the problem. In the simplest of terms, that's the problem. If they don't have that problem, they're not buying. And I'm like, show me that problem anywhere on your entire website. Mm-hmm. Show me how you've taught the sales team how to go ask for that problem. Show me what the root causes for that problem are, and show me how you've taught the sales team to go identify that problem, how they measure that problem, the impact. And like, we have it. And it's a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
So that's the key to your question, Becc, is that organizations just don't understand at the business level the problems they solve. And that's how you keep them on. When they say yes, then you have a conversation on the business problem. And like that guy with you, the more you realize I know about your business problem and help you uncover how it's affecting you, the more inclined you are to spend time talking with me.
Chris, you look like you have something to say.
No, I was just saying I agree. With just like some of the companies that we work with, like our team and my company does a great job of giving you the resources, and they'll tell you about the product, but it's also good to have how we back it up. How we've taken 5-10 companies that we've worked with and solved their problems. Because every industry, they're pretty much going to have the same problem, right? Manufacturing is always going to have their challenges. Law firms always have their challenges. It's not like some dark secret that they're hiding. It's you just do a little bit of Google search and you'll find out. But to me, it's like what you do, and take that, like the Drew Barrymore, he spent his time prepping, and then it's like, okay, cool. Like you get the opportunity. Now what? So you have to do, the research, and it's to me, it's easy if you just like the big picture, but it's, like you mentioned earlier, it's execution, right? Not getting in your own head and just putting in the work, just leveraging the resources that you have, and like, hey, look, boom, sure, you guys are working from home now, and did you realize that XYZ could happen due to the problems that you have?
Okay, so Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot. You can pick law firms. What was the other one you said? Manufacturing. Okay, pick one. Law firms and manufacturing. Pick one.
We'll do law firms.
Okay. Name 3 problems you solve for them. Your company solves for them.
Okay. So cybersecurity. with like VPN products, working from home, doing the like just having everybody on a network, slowing down network speeds. So network speeds, VPN, cybersecurity, and then managed services.
Okay, so you just did what every other person does, and this is why I tell you, people are not going to be able to implement gap selling on their own. The only thing that you said that was remotely close to a problem in those three was slow network speeds. That's all you said. That's all you said. Those aren't problems. Cybersecurity is not a problem.
Right.
Right. And shit. What was the last one you said?
Managed services.
Working from home. Working from home.
Yeah.
Working from home is not a problem. Managed services is not a problem. So this is everybody listening, and Chris, you're being a great sport, but I can't ask everybody here, but I'm looking over here. Listen, everybody. Your definition of a problem 99.9% of the time is not a problem, right? So in your case, for a law firm, a problem could be.
So what I should have done is like, hey, what if you weren't able to? What if all of your lawyers weren't able to log into their email?
Okay, so flip the script. The
Yeah.
problem is, I don't think that's a big enough problem to sell to be honest with you. But the flip the script. The problem is inability for law firms, attorneys, or partners to consistently or efficiently log in when they want to. Now, what I would personally do, though, is I would take that next step and say, when they log in, what happened? When they can't log in, what happens? No, that's a question.
Yeah, nothing. They can't access the emails. They can't get access to their clients.
Okay, so now, so the problem isn't even logging in. The problem is access. So the problem you solve is access. So now if I'm going to call a law firm, I'm going to call a law firm and start my email something along the lines of access. Do you find that your attorney is having a hard time accessing the applications they want when they want? Have you found, watch what I do here, to Beck's genius, relevance, have you found that billing has been negatively affected due to access problems to applications, the network, et cetera, since you started working from home?
That's the problem.
That's a fucking problem. Okay, that's a fucking problem that if I'm a partner at a law firm, I might take time to listen to you because yes, we are having billing issues because my team can't access the applications when they want because they all can't log in on the same time because ever since we went home, it's been a clusterfuck. You can fix this. I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Send Lee an email with, managed services can be difficult at times and they can really have an impact on organizations. Fuck you. Good night. Bye-bye. Right? Like that's literally what you came at me with.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you're on the spot, it's difficult. When you talk through it, you're like, oh, okay. You start thinking 3 steps ahead.
Yes, and you got to get the 3 steps ahead and put that shit on your pick.
Yeah.
And find 3 or 4 more of those. Send out to everybody in your organization, and now everybody's sending similar emails that are attack a real problem that is going to resonate with that buyer because that shit they're dealing with they don't want to deal with.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, working from home, managed services, and cybersecurity are not problems. And to my point, and you guys are reading gap selling and trying to execute and try to train that shit. And I told you won't be able to do it without us. So, anyways, I digress. So, have you guys?
There's the intrigue. There's the mystery.
Yes. Winters, I'm glad you're enjoying it, brother. Okay, on that note, I actually have an interview, so I am now officially late. So I will give Becc last word. So, Chris, share your thoughts here, and we'll close with Becc on this chapter. So, anything you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I just appreciate the insight. Like I said, it's a newer industry to me, so it's been a huge drinking from a fire hose. The 10 months that I've been with the company, and just going through the book and just having the opportunity to to hear it straight from you. Like I said, just on the spot, you're like, oh, these are problems, but when you kind of like actually talk through it and just keep digging into it, it really shows. Okay, just dive into it, detach from it, and just focus on the customer. I was thinking like what I can do, but I just appreciate the time. I mean, the book's been great. I'm almost done with it. It's something I will be reading again, but I appreciate the opportunity for you providing value, and it's free, and I think the ROI will come back to you greatly. So I mean, I appreciate it.
My pleasure, baby. I'm glad you came. We were happy to have you. All right, Becc, you are the prospecting genius. Please leave us with your thoughts and wisdoms.
No, I think I'm thankful for the book because it opened up my world to thinking about the problem that someone actually has and how does that drive me into a meeting. And so I think I like to leave people with a takeaway of what you can do differently. So the biggest problem that I see companies running into is they'll say like, okay, I got product-centric knowledge, but I don't have problem-centric knowledge. And so I'd say low-hanging fruit for me is figure out who your buyers are and go figure out what they're metriced on.
Yes.
Go figure out what they're metriced on. So I don't have to know Chris's background to know that he probably cares about quota attainment. I don't have to know Keenan's background to know that he probably cares about revenue. I don't have to know anyone who's watching this. If you're an AE, you probably care about ARR, and hitting your quota. If you're an SDR, you probably care about booked meetings. If you're a marketer, you probably care about MQLs. If you're a CRO, you probably care about revenue. If you're a CSM, you probably care about NPS score and upsell, cross-sell, renewal. It's like, just go find out what they're metriced on. I'm a huge Billy Beane fan. I have been since I was little. I used to watch him with the Oakland A's with my grandfather growing up. And it's like data, just figure out what someone's metric on, and then you know what button to push. So it doesn't matter if I am a ball player at, the Oakland A's versus the Texas Rangers. It's like, I want more won games. Like, that's my lagging indicator. That's what I'm metriced on. In the World Series, it just comes down to who wins the 4 games out of the 7 or the 6 of the 4 in some cases. But go figure out what your buyer is metriced on. What does a good or bad CRO look like, or a good or bad VP of sales look like, based on what quantitative metric, and then figure out what problems you resolve, and solve for your buyers that stack up into them, because then you can get their attention.
Yep. Hey, Chris, average mean time to respond, average mean time to repair, number of phishing attacks that were actually clicked on, number of phishing attacks that actually got through. Think about those. So just 4 quick ones off the top of my head that I'm sure CISOs want to talk about. I'm assuming you handle any of those, but that CISOs want to talk about, right? So there you go, food for thought, right?
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
All right, hey, thank you guys very much. Chris, thank you. Becc, of course, thank you. We should give a plug to your tour. You want to do a quick plug to our little collaborative tour effort?
Yes. So if you didn't get enough today, you are in luck, because Keenan and I are going on tour together. So in October of 2021, pending COVID lifts. So go to flipthescript.co and hit the tour tab, and you can pre-register so you can get spicy behind the scenes updates of what Keenan and I are chatting about pre-tour. I'm excited, Keenan.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Me too. All right, everybody, thank you. I'm going off to do an interview. Everybody, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoy this. We have Book Club Part 4 coming up. So stay tuned. And until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Peace, y'all. I'm out.